Welcome back, everybody. We have an update on damage from a wildfire which burned northeast of the valley. The bushfire burned back in 2020, and among other things, it destroyed the historic amethyst mine up on one of the 4 peaks. The only way to get there with our camera equipment was to fly up for a closer look at the rebuilding process. We are flying over the desert 20 miles east of the valley over an area scorched by the bush wildfire in 2020. There's a lot of green, regrowth down below. The helicopter's heading toward 4 peaks and a barely big enough landing pad which appears out of nowhere. We are up here between the peaks to check out another kind of rebirth following that devastating wildfire.
That fire just was roaring up this mountain. It must have just been so intense.
Kurt Cavano's owned the 4 Peaks mine now for 2 decades and takes great pride in the unique Siberian red amethyst pulled from the peaks. Aside from this spot, Siberian red is only found in Siberia. The bush wildfire wiped out his entire mining operation.
Flew over, and it was just devastating. That 20 years of all of our equipment, everything just completely vaporized.
Devastating. I want to cry. Yeah, the whole mountain was gone.
Mike has mined 4 Peaks for many years. The fire destroyed all of the mining equipment and tools, and also the home he lives in up on the peak with his wife. With the fire approaching, he thought about sheltering inside the mine.
I thought I'd been all right here, but they wanted me to get out, so I got out.
The flames would have sucked the oxygen out of the mine and suffocated them.
We hiked out. We beat the fire to the parking lot by about a half hour.
To this day, they are all surprised by the intensity of the heat generated by the wildfire. The porta potty up the trail here survived for the most part, but a lot of their equipment was just totally lost. Look here, this used to be an aluminum ladder, but the whole thing melted in the intense heat into basically a pool of molten metal. The solar panels shattered and melted into this pile on the ground. The generators burned. The list goes on. The helicopter which dropped us off kept flying round trips while we checked out the mine, hoisting burned debris off the mountain, hauling new equipment and building supplies back up. On our visit, they were rebuilding Mike's shelter.
So we're making some progress.
Now, Kurt says his mining operation barely breaks even, so the saying, "it's a gold mine," doesn't exactly apply to his amethyst operation.
A passion, and my wife calls it an out-of-control hobby, is what it really is.
To put it into perspective, a ton of these purple rocks are flown to Thailand each year, but only a couple handfuls of valuable, commercially viable amethyst will return to be sold.
We'll never recoup the money from the rebuild, but we're rebuilding it.
He says the helicopter alone costs him $1,500 an hour. They are offering tours to help offset the cost of the chopper. I was actually wondering if you were going to rebuild it all after the fire.
I had a lot of thinking about that. But the mine has such history, and Mike and Ty work up here. It supports the jewelry trade down in Phoenix. There's jewelry stores that buy the stones. And, it's been a passion for 20 years. I said, you know what, I'm gonna do it.
It's a super cool visit there. Stones from that mine are said to be in the Spanish crown, and that amethyst was used for many years, many centuries ago by Native Americans as arrowheads and for other tools as well.
That is so interesting.